My phone buzzed while I was in the kitchen with my cousins. A text from my husband lit up the screen. Don't react. Act like nothing is wrong. Meet me by the back door. 5 minutes. Act like nothing is wrong? Was something wrong? I froze, gripping the counter. Through the window, I saw him outside, laughing with my uncle, shaking hands like everything was normal. His smile looked natural, his posture relaxed, but those words pounded in my skull. Why would he send me something like that, here, of all places, at my family reunion? My cousin nudged me, asking if I could pass the salad bowl. I forced a laugh, passed it, and nodded, but my thoughts were a storm. My phone still sat in my hand, the message glowing like a warning flare. I typed back quickly, "What's going on?" No reply. My chest tightened. I glanced through the crowd again. He was still smiling, still chatting. His lips moved in casual conversation, but his eyes weren't with them. He was scanning, watching, measuring every face like he was waiting for something to happen. The seconds stretched. My palms felt damp. Every sound around me seemed distant. The clatter of forks, my aunt's laughter, the kids yelling outside. I only heard my heartbeat. At last, I slipped toward the back door, trying not to draw attention. I stepped outside. The evening air hit me, cool and sharp. I scanned the yard. Nothing looked unusual. The lawn chairs were full, the grill smoked, kids ran barefoot in the grass. Everything screamed normal, but my husband's message echoed in my head. Act like nothing is wrong. The door creaked again. I turned. There he was. His smile was gone. His jaw was tight, his face pale. He didn't even look at me. His eyes swept across the yard like he was hunting for something invisible. I whispered, "What's going on?" His voice was low, clipped. "Stay here. Don't ask questions." I grabbed his sleeve. "You're scaring me. Tell me." He pulled away, sharp, almost shaking me off. His whole body was coiled, tense, like he was about to sprint. I stepped down after him. "Please, just tell me what's happening." He finally looked at me, but it wasn't the look of a husband at a family barbecue. It was cold, alert, almost professional. "Stay with your family. Don't follow me." Then he turned and strode across the yard, cutting past lawn chairs, moving fast. He didn't break stride when my uncle called his name. He didn't slow when my cousin tried to hand him a drink. He walked like none of them existed. My breath caught as he reached our car at the curb. The engine roared to life. A moment later, the tires crunched on the gravel, and he was gone. I stood there dumbfounded, watching the taillights vanish down the street. What just happened? Why would my husband text me something so terrifying and then vanish without a word? The door opened behind me. My aunt leaned out, holding a tray. "Sweetheart, are you okay? You look pale." I pasted on a smile that felt brittle. "I'm fine, just needed some fresh air." She nodded, satisfied, and went back inside. But I wasn't fine. My hands were trembling. My mind spun with questions. Did someone threaten him? Was he in trouble? Was this about me? Or had I just stumbled into a part of his life I was never meant to see? Inside, the laughter and clinking plates filled the house like nothing had changed. But everything had. I drifted back into the kitchen, my body moving on autopilot while my eyes kept darting to the door, hoping he would return. He didn't. Every minute that ticked by stretched my nerves thinner. Relatives asked where he went, and I stammered out excuses. He just stepped out. He'll be right back. Maybe he took a call. None of it convinced me, and I doubted it convinced them. Finally, I slipped my phone back out and stared again at the only clue I had. Don't react. Act like nothing is wrong. Meet me by the back door. 5 minutes. My thumb hovered over the screen. Should I call him? Text him again? Would he even answer? The phone felt heavy in my hand. I locked it and shoved it into my pocket. Whatever was happening, it was bigger than me. Bigger than potato salad and backyard laughter. And though I didn't know it yet, My husband hadn't left to run an errand or take a phone call, because somewhere in that crowd, hidden behind easy smiles and family chatter, sat a man my husband never expected to find here. But I didn't know that yet. All I knew was that my husband had vanished, and something was very, very wrong. I kept checking the window, waiting for headlights to swing back into the driveway. They never came. Minutes dragged into what felt like hours, though it had only been 15. My phone stayed silent. No calls, no messages, nothing. I poured lemonade for my cousin just to look busy, but my hands shook so badly the glass rattled against the pitcher. Where had my husband gone? Why would he abandon me at my own family reunion without a word of explanation? Relatives noticed, of course. My aunt cornered me at the sink. "Where'd he run off to?" she asked casually, drying her hands on a dish towel. I stammered. Work. He got a call." It sounded ridiculous, even to me. Who drives off in the middle of a reunion because of work? But she just shrugged and wandered back outside, thankfully uninterested in pressing me. Still, the unease gnawed at me. My husband had never been reckless, never impulsive. And yet tonight, he had vanished like a man chasing a ghost. I slipped onto the porch, scrolling through old texts, searching for clues I knew I wouldn't find. My fingers typed out, "Please tell me what's going on." I hovered, then hit send. The little bubble sat there, delivered but unread. My chest ached with frustration. The door banged behind me. My cousin stepped out, holding hands with her new boyfriend, the one she'd been gushing about all week. They looked happy, carefree. She pulled him closer, introducing him again as if I'd forgotten. I forced a smile, but something in me tightened. He shook my hand, eyes steady, almost too steady. A chill swept over me, but I couldn't explain why. He was just another guest, wasn't he? When they left, I slipped back into the crowd. Everyone else looked the same, talking, eating, laughing, but to me, the air felt different. Charged. My husband's warning replayed over and over. Act like nothing is wrong. Why would he say that unless something truly was? Time blurred. The sun sank lower, casting orange light across the yard. I caught myself staring at every face, searching for whatever he'd seen. Nothing stood out. Nothing explained his panic. Then, finally, the crunch of tires on gravel. I rushed to the window. Our car pulled back into the driveway. Relief surged, but it didn't last. Two unmarked sedans slid in quietly behind him, their headlights off, their movements careful. My stomach dropped. This wasn't normal. This wasn't my husband running an errand. This was something else entirely. He got out first. His face was carved with focus, sharp and unreadable. He scanned the yard, then lifted his phone to his ear. The men from the other cars followed, spreading out like shadows, moving with deliberate precision. I stepped outside before I could stop myself. "Where have you been?" I hissed, trying to keep my voice low. He didn't answer. His eyes were locked past me, on the crowd in the yard. I grabbed his sleeve, desperate. "You're scaring me. Please just—" He shook me off. "Stay inside." His voice was harder than before, almost mechanical. I backed away, stunned. My family laughed a few yards away, oblivious. My cousin's boyfriend raised his cup in a toast, his arm draped around her shoulders. My husband's jaw clenched. His eyes pinned the boyfriend like a hawk locking onto prey. Something clicked in my chest. My knees went weak. Was this about him? Why? Who was he? I wanted answers, but my husband had already moved. He signaled with 2 fingers, subtle, almost invisible. But the men near the cars saw it and spread out farther. One moved toward the side gate. Another drifted toward the deck. The boyfriend laughed again, tipping his drink, completely unaware. My cousin whispered something in his ear and kissed his cheek. And that's when my husband whispered to me, his voice cold and certain. "I found him." I didn't know what he meant, not yet. But the way he said it made my blood run cold. Because whatever was happening wasn't just about my family reunion anymore. It was bigger. Much bigger. And my husband wasn't the man I thought he was. The moment those words left his lips, I found him. My world tilted. My husband wasn't looking at me. He wasn't even looking at the rest of my family. His eyes were locked on my cousin's boyfriend. I followed his gaze, my stomach sinking. The boyfriend laughed again, carelessly sipping from his red cup, completely oblivious to the tightening circle around him. I whispered, panicked. "What do you mean, found him? That's just—" But my husband raised his hand to silence me. His entire body was steel, coiled and waiting. I'd never seen him like this. One of the plainclothes men edged closer to the boyfriend, but not too close. Another slipped behind the garage. They moved like predators, cutting off every exit. I grabbed my husband's arm. "Tell me what's going on. That's my cousin's boyfriend." His eyes flicked to mine. "Not anymore. To the bureau, he's a fugitive, armed, dangerous." The words hit me like ice water. Fugitive? Armed? My cousin was leaning against him, laughing, completely unaware she had her arms around a man who had been running from the law. I almost screamed, but my husband's hand shot out, gripping my wrist. "Don't. Act. Normal." I froze, pulse hammering. Act normal. How could I? My family was sitting ducks, and I was the only one who knew. Then it happened fast. 2 agents moved in at once. My cousin's boyfriend stiffened, his smile collapsing. His eyes darted wildly. He knew. "Michael Hayes!" one agent barked, his voice sharp and commanding. "FBI! Don't move!" Gasps erupted. Plates crashed to the ground. My cousin shrieked, clutching her boyfriend's arm as if she didn't understand. But Hayes shoved her hard, sending her sprawling onto the lawn. He bolted toward the side gate. Chaos exploded. My relatives screamed, scattering in every direction. Kids cried. My aunt yelled for someone to call 911, not realizing the FBI was already here. I stumbled back, nearly tripping over a chair, heart slamming against my ribs. Hayes sprinted, but he didn't get far. My husband was faster. He intercepted, slamming him against the fence with brutal force. The two struggled, fists flying, but within seconds other agents swarmed in. "Get down! Get on the ground!" They wrestled him down, snapping handcuffs around his wrists as he thrashed and cursed. My cousin sobbed, screaming his name, clawing toward him until another relative pulled her back. It was over almost as fast as it began. The agents dragged Hayes toward one of the unmarked sedans, his face twisted with rage. "You'll regret this," he spat, voice dripping venom. My husband didn't flinch. He just tightened his grip on Hayes's arm and shoved him into the back seat. Silence fell in the yard, broken only by my cousin's hysterical cries. And me? I stood rooted, my whole body trembling. I finally found my voice, barely above a whisper. "You knew. You knew all along." He turned, breathing hard, his shirt torn at the collar. "No, I didn't. Not until I saw him tonight. I didn't plan this." His eyes softened, but only slightly. "It was chance. Bad luck for him. For me, it was instinct." I swallowed hard. Instinct, just instinct. But everything felt shattered. The normal dinner, the laughter, the warmth, it was gone. In its place was this surreal nightmare, where my husband was suddenly more stranger than spouse. My cousin screamed again, fighting against her parents as she begged them to let her go to him. "He wouldn't do this! He wouldn't!" But I knew she was wrong. I'd seen the look in his eyes the moment his cover was blown. He was exactly who they said he was. The sedans pulled away into the night, taillights glowing red against the darkness. My family huddled together, shaken and terrified. My husband stood apart, phone already to his ear, giving a report in clipped professional tones. And me? I stayed frozen on the porch, replaying everything. The text. The warning. Act like nothing is wrong. And I realized then, I didn't know my husband as well as I thought. Because tonight, I hadn't seen my partner. I'd seen the FBI agent lurking underneath. And that man was a stranger to me.